Well, judging by the mixed fan reaction, it seems like Danhausen really did come into WWE to curse the Elimination Chamber card. Now, personally, I really like Danhausen, and I think that the reveal segment worked really well, down to the theme song that's ripped straight from the Mickey Mouse school of Halloween music.
Which is which?
But for as much as I loved the debut, I can totally understand why the segment fell flat for some. After all, what is it that Danhausen can do in WWE? He's such a weird and indie gimmick that makes him kind of difficult to grasp, especially for the many WWE fans who have just never heard of the guy. Hell, even AEW struggled to book him, and that's a company that actually embraces those kind of online comedy gimmicks like Orange Cassidy and the Young Bucks. But, assuming Danhausen does more than just meaningless segments with R-Truth and cheap ad reads involving teeth, I think there is actually a lot to work with for WWE's creative team, and I think he could be a really fun highlight to weekly TV if given the chance. Hey guys, my name is DJ, and today I want to talk about some of the possibilities for what Danhausen could do over in WWE. And assuming Danhausen is actually used as a proper member of the roster as opposed to just another cameo machine like so many comedy acts before him, then I think the most fitting place for him right now would be to have him get involved in the El Grande Americano storyline. Not only would Danhausen be a fun addition here, given that the whole thing is WWE's big A comedy story at the moment, but I actually think Danhausen's gimmick can specifically add something to this story. I can already picture him proclaiming the original as very nice and the other as very evil, helping the original El Grande by evening the odds against Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue. This could also be a good way for the audience to slowly learn more about him, with him immediately having an ally to bounce off of in the original Americano. This also gives him a few easy punching bags for him to beat in Bravo and Rayo, as well as some targets that will feel the wrath of his curse. I think that's the same logic behind his first interaction with the Judgment Day, with JD McDonough acting as another available punching bag for WWE's lower mid-card. But to be honest, I don't really see them being his first main feud, given that it sort of feels like Judgment Day is about to explode. Okay, yes, I understand that it always feels like Judgment Day is going to explode, but considering Finn Balor just turned babyface twice with CM Punk, I think this time it might actually happen leading into Mania. So we could just very easily transition Danhausen out of that story and into the one with the Americanos. After all, Dom's been pretty friendly with the English, German, Spanish, and American-speaking Americanos, so just having one segment featuring all of these guys could slot Danhausen into that feud. But while I think Danhausen will most likely end up dealing with the masked guys on Raw, I actually think there are more possibilities for him if he went to the blue brand. There are just so many comedy acts on SmackDown right now, like R-Truth, Chelsea Green, and more. So if I were the guy in charge, then I'd have him show up next week on SmackDown to start a long-term feud with Kit Wilson. Not only is Kit one of the most popular WWE superstars online right now, but I actually think Wilson has a lot of traits that would make for a great Danhausen foil. Kit is kind of a clean, pretty boy character who could easily see Danhausen's weird antics and jar of disgusting teeth as toxic. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the chemistry between these characters already feels so obvious to me, and they've never even been in the same room together. Hell, WWE could use this feud as a lazy month of writing if they wanted to, since you don't really need a scriptwriter for a guy like Danhausen. You just need a camera, someone willing to play ball, and then you just let Danhausen do his thing. And I think Wilson would be perfect in this role, able to add his own flair of disgust to every word out of his opponent's mouth. And by the end of their feud, I think we could see a really awesome comedy hardcore match between them, reminiscent of the Zayn vs. Knoxville match from WrestleMania 38. Speaking of WrestleMania, Kit and Danhausen should absolutely have a segment together on that card. I hate those goofy ad reads that they do with people like R-Truth or some other comedy act, but yeah, Wilson and Danhausen would be hilarious in that role as total comedic opposites trying to ad-lib while trying to sell me the Rikishi spread asshole version of the Intercontinental Championship. But speaking of people layered in internet humor, my next idea has Danhausen sharing screen time with Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green. After all, the former Zack Ryder already has a history of dealing with this type of humor, with a lot of Ryder's old Z Long Island skits having that same unserious tone that Danhausen has. And given that Cardona is actively trying to steer away from being seen as the funny mid-carder, he could play a really great straight man for Danhausen to bounce his ideas off of. Because no matter how much Matt wants to change, Cardona can still be pretty good at off-the-cuff humor. So, like with my argument with Wilson, I think Danhausen could have a ton of fun with Matt's goofy facials. Whether as a rival or, as I'm pitching here, a tag team partner that learns to tolerate Danhausen over time. But where exactly does Chelsea Green fit into all this? Well, firstly, I think everyone would want to see Danhausen and Chelsea in a segment together. That's just a recipe for good television, Mr. Michael Hayes. But also, I think this could be a way to bring Cardona and Green together on screen. If their tag team is successful, Danhausen could choose to call his new bud Matt very nice, while calling Chelsea very evil following some sort of backstage argument. Then, Matt would suddenly be pushed into making a few choices. Would the Hausen charm be enough to make Green a proper babyface as she joins her husband alongside him? Or does Chelsea use her status as Matt's wife to pull him away from Danhausen and into the dark side? I actually think that Danhausen's very nice, very evil catchphrase could be used in quite a number of similar situations, with him now able to act as the middleman between choices. For example, he could help Finn Balor choose between being very evil in the Judgment Day or being very nice by fighting Dom at Mania. Or he could help Jey Uso to decide whether he wants to very nicely yeet alongside Jimmy in the tag division, or if he should rejoin what seems to be a heelish Roman Reigns so that he could go back to that very evil Bloodline success. Danhausen could play the role of a less serious anchor for so many dilemmas in WWE, with him also able to lay a curse on someone if they decide to make the very evil choice. Kind of like a comedic babyface version of what Karrion Kross's gimmick was. But while my prior pitches have had Danhausen getting involved with other purposefully funny characters, I did have one more idea that is just pure fantasy booking. What can I say? A guy like Danhausen really fills me with ideas, so if you'll indulge me, this last one might seem a bit random. What if Danhausen joined the MFTs? Yes, I know this might seem odd at first, but I actually think there might be something to this idea. Currently speaking, the MFTs are just a less threatening version of the Bloodline, as Solo Sikoa leads as its C-level mob boss. I mean, at this point, I'd argue Solo is a full-blown comedy character, with him also having some really funny reactions during promos. So, considering we're talking about Bloodline members here, why not have Danhausen there to match that more comedic tone as a way less serious version of Sami Zayn? Not only do they all have very similar face paint, which is something you know Danhausen would poke fun at, but he could actually help solve a few of the group's issues. The main problem with the MFTs right now is that none of the members actually have a truly defined character other than Solo. So, if you throw Danhausen in there to have some jokey conversations with everyone, then maybe we might actually start to grow attached to some of the other members of the group. Using Sami Zayn as the blueprint here, maybe Danhausen ends up clicking really well with Tama Tonga, as his brother Tonga Loa stands by, not trusting him. Solo can continue keeping him around because, hey, this new jester simply amuses him, and all the while JC and Tala can be forming their own opinions on Danhausen. On top of all that, I also think Danhausen has some realistic motivation to do this, given that he loves money and Solo's Samoan family is one of the wealthiest in wrestling. I don't think anyone actually expects Danhausen to win a championship in WWE, but being involved in a layered mid-card storyline like this could help him achieve some momentum to win that singles gold. I know this idea is by far the least likely option I've discussed today, but I think literally just stealing elements from the Bloodline and applying them to Danhausen and the MFTs isn't the craziest idea in the world. After all, what can be better than Danhausen asking Solo if he's feeling oozy today?
Lately, he just hasn't been very oozy.
But with Danhausen being such a layered character, the wacky possibilities for him in WWE feel nearly endless. So I want to hear from you. What other odd and wacky interactions do you hope to see out of WWE's newest face-painted freak? Let me know down in the comments, leave a like on the video, and until next time, have a good day. Bye-bye.